In recent years, we have heard voices saying, "The factories are in trouble," and "The factories are going to fail." The phenomenon of factories going bankrupt and closing down is happening in many places in the mainland. As consumers, we can sense the intense low-price competition among e-commerce platforms. What kind of situation are factories, as the front line of production, facing now? In August and September of this year, we visited dozens of source factories in Zhuji, Zhejiang, and Yishui, Shandong. These two places, one in the south and one in the north, are both among China's top 100 counties. Their most prominent local industries are two highly representative light industries, the traditional textile industry and the food processing industry. For example, manufacturers in Jiangsu and Zhejiang were usually affected by e-commerce earlier, leading them to enter e-commerce first and then open factories. Meanwhile, Shandong entered e-commerce later, and for them, entering e-commerce was more of a reluctant move. The common point is that both Zhuji and Yishui have been impacted by the low-price era, making them microcosms of Chinese factories' struggles for survival. For factory owners, the factory is their lifeline. At a food factory in Yishui, a boss said, "Running a business means investing your whole life. It's like swimming in the water. When the water rises, you're betting your life. Once you fail, you lose everything, and no one will cover for you." The factory can't afford to turn on the air conditioning. Driving through the streets of Zhuji, Zhejiang, we saw shuttered shopfronts and empty streets under the sweltering August sun. Under the subtropical high-pressure belt, the outdoor temperature reached nearly 40 degrees Celsius. Yet, when the factory door opened, a wave of stifling air hit us. This sock factory is located in a building, with each floor housing an independent factory. Climbing the external staircase, the steel structure creaked with each step as if about to collapse. Ducking through a small doorway, we entered a 500 square meter space on the third floor, packed with spinning machines, 14 machines per group, a total of 5 groups, or 70 machines in all, with a warehouse and the boss's office squeezed in. Typically, 5 people would operate the spinning machines, but now only 1 worker remains. Most of the machines have stopped. The lone worker, shirtless and sweating, wore headphones around his neck, though nothing was playing in them, likely to block out the machine's rumbling noise. This sock factory doesn't use air conditioning because it can't afford to. The cooler temperature affects sock shaping, but financially, it's also unviable. Huang Xiong, the factory owner, explained, "I can earn at most 30 yuan, and at least 15 yuan per machine daily. With 30 machines running, that's less than 500 yuan. The electricity bill for air conditioning in this large space would exceed 300 yuan daily, so I don't dare turn it on." Huang Xiong told us that demand for autumn socks usually rises after mid-August, but this year, the factory has been in a semi-shutdown for nearly a month and a half. Zhuji is a county-level city under Shaoxing's jurisdiction, with a well-developed sock industry. If you go to the wrong building, you'll still find sock manufacturers, locals say. Zhuji produces 25 billion pairs of socks annually, accounting for 70% of the national market, with 1/3 of the world's socks coming from here. But this year, nearly every factory is clearing out inventory, and no owner dares to stock up. Some have hundreds of thousands, or even millions of pairs of socks in storage. In past years, they could sell 1,000 to 2,000 orders daily, but in recent years, even 1,000 would be a good day. New styles are increasingly difficult to sell. Before, 5 or 6 out of 10 styles would sell. Now, it's just 1 or 2, with the rest unsold. Profits are thinning. According to Sock War, the growth history of the Tang Dynasty, Sock Industry, published in 2008, the gross profit on a pair of socks was about 1.2 yuan. Today, earning 5 cents is considered a big profit. High-end socks, which once offered around 10% profit, now yield only 2 to 3%, or even less than 1%. Huang Xiong is not an isolated case. We heard similar stories across the industrial belts we visited in Zhejiang and Shandong. This year is like falling off a cliff. said the owner of a food factory in Yishui, Shandong. Previously, factories operated 27 to 28 days a month, sometimes with night shifts, but now they often run only 7 to 8 days. There seems to be only one solution. You can only cut costs from every angle, one boss explained. Costs of labor, utilities, raw materials, and operations must all be reduced. Business is going backwards. Chinese factories are struggling to compete. Local merchants and factory owners in Zhuji have noticed that e-commerce platforms have turned into a low-price battle royale. Factories now operate on a simple principle: minimize costs and profits to offer socks at rock-bottom prices. How low are the profits? 1 cent is earned per step, says Wang Kai, who runs a typical low-end volume factory. She earns 1 cent for turning the socks, another for sewing the toes, making 5 cents per pair. Yet, if volume is large, say 30 million pairs annually, it adds up to a reasonable income of 1.5 million yen. In the early 2010s, pure cotton socks became popular for their breathability and comfort. However, with cotton costs pushing the price of each pair above 1 yuan, polyester, a cheaper but less comfortable alternative, has resurged. Polyester socks are now in high demand locally, with shipments several times higher than those of cotton socks. Save the factory. Chinese factories are struggling to compete. Zhou Xin, a children's socks factory owner, despises polyester socks, which he calls garbage socks. He blames polyester for shrinking demand for his cotton socks, seeing it as a case of bad money driving out good money and disrupting the market. To demonstrate, he once recorded a video of polyester socks burning for customers to see, contrasting their stench of burning plastic with the smell of paper from cotton. Meanwhile, imitation and copycat tactics are rampant. Manufacturers rush to produce the most popular online designs, but quality varies significantly even among identical-looking items. Socks have no copyright, locals say, except for Disney or other strictly regulated IPs. Different qualities for the same product. Zhao Zhendong, a supply factory owner, explained, "For each product, we offer at least 2 to 4 quality grades. This allows him to cater to different price points." He noted that polyester socks are his staple for large orders, while he only produces cotton socks upon request. In contrast, Zhou Xin refuses to make polyester socks, not only for moral reasons, but because he believes internal circulation has no end. "You're never the lowest. There will always be someone cheaper," he says. Socks weight, thread count, needle density, and labor costs are continually reduced in this cost-cutting race. Industrial upgrading has stalled. Business owners like Zhou Xin had initially hoped industrial upgrading would help them improve product quality and competitiveness. After 2010, Datang socks began differentiating into fashion, business, and sports styles, with computer machines enabling intricate patterns at the press of a button. In 2014, the government phased out small, 3-in-1 factories and coal-fired boilers to promote safer and more efficient operations. But now, factories face extinction due to a lack of funds and energy for upgrades, with little left for transformation. The world's factory is deserted and in ruins. The prosperous scene is a thing of the past. Why is it so desolate now, with not even one person around? Logically speaking, Dongguan, known as the world's factory, should be bustling with people. Why is it so empty? Dongguan, China, known as the world's factory, is facing an increasingly depressed economy. Many factories and shops have closed. Walking down the streets of Dongguan, you see vacant shops everywhere, each with a "for rent" notice. Mr. Wang, a supermarket owner, told reporters that business has been bad and he is losing money every day. His store's operating income is 70% lower than it was at its peak in 2007 and 2008. Life is very difficult now. Many factories in Dongguan are struggling to get orders. They either go bankrupt or downsize, replacing large factories with smaller ones. A netizen named Lang Zihua posted a video on Douyin showing many closed stores in Dongguan. In the video, he says, "This is Lin Village, Tangxia Town, Dongguan. Many stores are for rent, and so many are closed. Even a restaurant here is looking for a new place to rent. Everything inside, including the second floor, has been cleared out. Many stores are closed. Across from here is the Jindi Qianbaihui Business Center. Why are these shops closing? Why is there no business in such a prime location? There's still a tea shop holding on, but the barbecue restaurant and hardware store are also looking for a place to rent. It's happening everywhere. Even the foot massage pavilion is looking for a place to rent. Rows of stores are closed. Business is just too tough. You see, on this street of 100 or 200 meters, there are dozens of stores looking for a new location. There's hardly anyone on the streets. How can this be? Even this milk tea shop has closed and is looking for a new location. Business is so difficult. There's an industrial zone nearby, so there should be many factory workers to support these businesses. But I don't understand why this is happening." In the video, he also mentions a factory in Huizhou that produces gift boxes. Many people came from Dongguan, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen to apply for jobs. The factory started interviews at 1:30 p.m. Apparently, the factory received a large batch of orders and was short-staffed, so they needed to hire many workers. They offered a high wage of 17 yuan per hour, with an 11-hour workday earning 187 yuan daily. Unexpectedly, 400 or 500 people arrived at once, blocking the road outside the factory gate so cars couldn't pass. This factory isn't very large and doesn't need that many people. The boss was stunned. The supervisor said they would train the workers first, and if they still wanted the job after training, they could stay. If not, they could leave. He explained that the production demands are high, and if tasks aren't completed, workers would have to stay and work overtime without additional pay. Moreover, if they didn't meet their production targets within the first 3 days, they wouldn't be paid at all if they decided to leave. Not only is it difficult for workers without academic qualifications to find jobs, but even college graduates are struggling to secure employment. A netizen posted a video saying she met a college graduate who had come to Dongguan to look for a job. In the video, she says, "It's so hard to find a job. I've been searching for several months. I came here from Shaoguan by myself, and I don't have a place to stay. I tried to find housing, but rent is too expensive, so I've had to stay with friends occasionally. I haven't found a job and the expenses are piling up. I don't have a choice but to keep trying my luck. If I don't find a job, how can I afford to live?" Because so many factories have closed and workers have left, even Dongguan's catering industry has been severely impacted, with many restaurants shutting down. A Douyin user, Li Xingji #1, posted a video saying that business has been bad this year. He saw a restaurant in Hojie Town, Dongguan, which closed down after only 2 months of operation. He mentions a Hakka restaurant that had been running for over 10 years with good business, about 300 meters away from a newly opened Xi'an restaurant, also a Hakka restaurant. The owner of the new restaurant likely opened it because they saw the success of the older one, but unfortunately, they ended up losing a lot of money. Now, no one visits restaurants to eat. In the first half of this year, more than 1 million restaurants in mainland China shut down, resulting in a surge in business for catering corpse collectors who recycle restaurant equipment. Dongguan, once a globally renowned manufacturing hub, had many giant companies, some employing tens of thousands of workers, while others had over 100,000. One such large enterprise was Yueyuan Shoe Factory. Yueyuan Shoe Factory is a subsidiary of Taiwan's Puchen Group, specializing in producing high-end brand sports shoes, including Adidas, Nike, and New Balance. The factory had 2 parks in Dongguan, one in Gaobu Town and the other in Huangjiang Town, with each employing more than 100,000 workers. The total number of employees across both parks exceeded 300,000. At the time, due to the large number of employees, the Yueyuan Shoe Factory had to organize lunch shifts in the canteen every day. After work, it would take more than 10 minutes just for all the employees to exit the factory. To maintain employee morale, Yueyuan Shoe Factory not only provided food and accommodation, but also operated kindergartens and schools for workers' children. Additionally, it had its own hospital, cinema, and fire brigade. In its heyday, Xi'an occupied half of Gaobu town, and its total export value accounted for 50% of the town's economy. In 2007, the factory's annual output value reached billions of US dollars. However, in recent years, due to the sharp rise in labor costs, energy prices, and taxes in China, Xi'an gradually withdrew from Dongguan and began moving its operations to Vietnam in 2012. The once massive factory and dormitory buildings at the Xi'an Park in Gaobu town have since been abandoned, standing empty for years, evoking a sense of loss and nostalgia. In the video, she says, "This is the Xi'an shoe factory in Gaobu town, Dongguan City. You can see how desolate it looks now, but back then it was the world's largest shoe manufacturing factory. At its peak, it employed 300,000 people. You can imagine how prosperous it was. I've heard that during shift changes, countless workers entered and exited the factory, creating a spectacular scene. The nearby night market was always packed. Every day, there was an endless line of people queuing up for interviews at the factory gate.